This Memorial Day, the American Legion hosts a special ceremony to honor our veterans. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with the details.
Plus, St. Louis veterans work to get a proper burial for a Navy veteran with no known relatives. Also, a Disney princess makes an appearance in Joplin. We'll tell you who stopped by. Color me rad.
The mass shooting here in Uvalde, Texas that left 21 people dead is now reigniting a national debate over gun control. I'm Jeff Paul in Uvalde, Texas. I'll have the details coming up.
You're watching the KOAM News at 9, and it starts right now. And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Warner. This Memorial Day weekend, local veterans are taking the time to honor those the holiday is all about, our fallen heroes. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more on the importance of taking the time to honor those who sacrificed so much for our freedom.
Let's put forward. Ready, aim! Ready, aim!
This Memorial Day weekend, many people everywhere will be traveling or just enjoying an extra day off. But local veterans want people to remember why we can take a day off in the first place.
If it wasn't for the veterans, we may not be having Memorial Day. They're the ones that saved the country, that made this country, and continue to serve every day of the year for it. American Legion, even though we're all veterans, we still continue to serve both the community and our veterans.
The American Legion Post 13 is honoring veterans with the help of Peace Church Cemetery, ensuring they receive the respect they deserve.
Today we're putting flags on the veterans' graves. We've asked the American Legion Post 13 to come and join with us and put those veterans' flags on their graves. And so we'll be marching around to each veteran's graves that we have names for.
They place an emphasis on ensuring our veterans are honored as a sign of gratitude for serving their country. One Post member's father, who passed away, was finally honored after not being able to.
One of our members, Dick Bourne, his father died, and he was a World War II vet. And at the time that he died, for some reason, the government was pretty well shut down. And so he never got his military honors when they buried him. So Dick asked if today, while when we fire our volleys and play taps, if we get on his father also, and we're very proud to do that.
The Post wants people to think about and honor those who passed away, and remember why we have the freedom to celebrate this day. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
For more information on Memorial Day ceremonies happening across the 4 states, you can head to our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. St. Louis veterans worked with a local hospital to provide a burial with full military honors for a Navy vet with no known loved ones. The solemn ceremony was a powerful way to commemorate the true meaning of Memorial Day. Ryan Henson has that story.
One final ride for a man who put his life on the line for our country.
All veterans, they signed their name on a dotted line. They committed to protecting our country, protecting our freedoms. They all deserve their dignified burial.
Neil Nighthawk Hill leads the band of Patriot Guard riders through St. Louis to Jefferson Barracks, the final resting place of an unnamed veteran who died in Barnes Jewish Hospital's care. So not much is known about the Navy veteran, but he served from 1967 to 72. And the Office of Decedent Affairs at Barnes Jewish Hospital says they looked for 6 months looking for loved ones left behind. The BJC Veterans Connect group was side by side with Patriot Guard riders.
When people leave the military, the one thing they miss the most is those that served by their side. We never leave a comrade behind, and that's true even after we've hung up our uniform.
The Healthcare Network says care doesn't stop after a person passes on. Chandra White with Barnes Jewish Hospital heads the only Office of Decedent Affairs in the state. After an unsuccessful search of loved ones, she was happy a caring community was there in the end.
Make sure that you stay in touch with your family, and so when this time comes that they're there to represent your loved ones.
A special tribute just before Memorial Day weekend.
And to be able to support this veteran as all of us did today, and to receive that flag is very touching. I know all of us there were teary-eyed.
Ryan Henson.
Back here in Southwest Missouri, at Color Me Rad in Joplin from 10 until noon, they had a very special guest that they brought in, Princess Elsa from Frozen. They were treated with a performance of her singing songs from the movie, followed by a book reading, arts and crafts, and then lastly, and possibly most importantly, a dance party.
Little girls kept wanting to go back to Elsa and hug her, and she didn't want to leave. And, you know, unfortunately, Elsa's only here for 2 hours, and so the poor little girl started crying. But the kids are so excited. We had one little girl that didn't know Elsa was going to be here, and when she walked into the room, Elsa was singing, and the pure joy, that look on her face.
The crowd raised his baton, and the musicians began.
Color Me Rad has locations in Joplin and Webb City. This afternoon at the Hideout Harley-Davidson, the Four Kings Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club hosted a car and motorcycle show for Memorial Weekend. Now, the event was held to raise money for police officers, firefighters, other first responders, and the military.
That money is used directly for anybody injured or just in need. Any officer, EMT, firefighter, military, that's what we're here to help for. Military, all these first responders, they don't make a lot of money. So when in their time of need, we want to be there financially to help them out as best we can.
Four Kings is a not-for-profit club. It was a beautiful day to get out and do a lot of Memorial Day related ceremonies. Nick Kelly joining us.
And the evening's been pretty good for us as well, Chris. In fact, just before we saw the last of the sun's rays earlier this evening, we were being treated to a nice looking sunset from 7th and Ridgelawn. Numbers officially today, as advertised, dropping back to 59 before we rebounded back to 83 degrees this afternoon, back a little bit above normal for this time of the year. A little shocking since we spent a good portion of this past week on the chillier side of things. But thankfully, we're starting the evening out, or started it out on a quiet note. Cloud cover's trying to build out west. That's actually because a quick warm front will come our way by tomorrow morning. So it's mostly clear out there to begin the late night hours, but we'll see some partly cloudy skies by morning with lows dropping back near 69. As that quick front comes on through, maybe a random shower, maybe a random storm in a couple of spots in our far western counties, but everyone's pretty much dry for tomorrow and warmer with highs pushing into the upper 80s. We'll see if we can keep it dry for Memorial Day and see when better rain chances could return in the full forecast coming up, Chris.
All right, Nick, thank you. Reports of an officer-involved shooting in Missouri Friday night. The incident taking place in Kansas City. Reports say it involved a car that was stolen earlier in the day. The officer involved in the incident was unharmed. No word yet on what led to the shooting or the condition of the person shot. An investigation into the incident is ongoing at this time. Emotions are running high as Americans are again grieving the loss of life in a mass shooting at an elementary school. But people on both sides of the gun control debate show no sign of being able to reach any kind of agreement. Fox News correspondent Jeff Paul has more.
We must stand stronger. We cannot outlaw tragedy, I know, but we can make America safer.
School safety and gun control are on the minds of many Americans as the National Rifle Association holds its annual meeting in Houston this weekend. The gathering comes at a time when families and friends in Uvalde, Texas are mourning the deaths of the 19 students and 2 teachers from Tuesday's mass shooting at Robb Elementary. Protesters in Houston have been gathering outside the George R. Brown Convention Center, where they had demanded Mayor Sylvester Turner cancel the event.
It's a shame that the audacity of holding a convention on the heels of one of the largest deaths in America.
On Friday, former President Trump addressed the 3-day marketing and advocacy event for the gun industry, defending the rights of gun owners.
The existence of evil in our world is not a reason to disarm law-abiding citizens who know how to use their weapon and can protect a lot of people. The existence of evil is one of the very best reasons to arm law-abiding citizens.
This as new video shows bloodied children being escorted from Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, as worried parents waiting outside of the school are held back by police officers. Texas authorities say the gunman who carried out the massacre was in the building for over an hour before he was killed by law enforcement. Family members are now demanding to know why authorities didn't storm the school sooner. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will travel here tomorrow to meet with the families of victims and first responders. In Uvalde, Texas, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Private First Class Clarence Russell served in the Army during World War II and participated in the Battle of the Bulge, his hometown, Girard. We're proud to recognize Private First Class Clarence Russell, tonight's four-state hero. And of course, if you want to learn more about our other heroes or nominate one of your own, you can do that at any time at KOAMnewsnow.com. After the forecast, Trey Inks has more on the crisis in Ukraine and why Kyiv officials are calling for more support.
It was nice that we kept things pretty quiet overall during the day. However, a couple of you did have to deal with a couple of showers, even a few thunderstorms this morning. Believe it or not, that developing area of rain and storms that we saw get going last night out across southeastern Colorado and track across southwestern Kansas actually made a stop here before falling apart as it was working over the Joplin area. Here you can see that little batch of rain and some thunderstorms, then it completely dying off as it got deeper into the heart of the area. But then we just dealt with partly to mostly sunny skies during much of the day. And we definitely saw temperatures respond nicely to that. After we had highs in the upper 70s yesterday, we dropped back into the upper 50s to near 60 this morning and back into the lower 80s for this afternoon. And again, we had a pretty good evening. This is the view not too long ago from 7th and Rangeline with still nice looking skies outside, in fact, all across the area. But a change in our weather setup means instead of dropping back into the 50s tonight, we'll only drop back into the upper 60s. Let me show you why. At the surface, here is our next warm front coming in from the west. It is trying to help launch some thunderstorms across northeastern, make that northwestern Nebraska, parts of South Dakota, and the dry line initiating some storms out in northwestern Texas. And we have this building upper level ridge to make sure that we stay warm for tomorrow too. But there is one quick little wave, another one coming out of Colorado that might want to throw another random shower or storm for a couple of you as we get tomorrow morning underway. At least to start the overnight, we're still looking okay, mostly clear for many of you. Then we'll start to see the warm front approach and that little quick upper wave too. That's going to bring in partly cloudy skies in the morning with lows in the upper 60s. A couple spots in our western counties, west of 59 on the Kansas side, west of 69 in northeast Oklahoma, maybe a couple of showers, maybe a random storm, but like this morning, these chances slim and they won't last all day long. Partly to mostly sunny for the afternoon ahead, and we are definitely going to be warm with that good south wind, really making sure it kicks into gear, stays into gear as that warm front passes through. 69 in the morning, 82 by noon, Joplin topping out at 88 with that south wind at 15 to 25. In fact, that will send everybody into the middle to upper 80s for tomorrow afternoon. Looking good for Sunday night, partly cloudy skies turning mostly clear, then maybe additional clouds at times during our Memorial Day, but you can see how a rarity around here. We are dry for Memorial Day. It's amazing to say that considering we can't go by this holiday weekend in general without a big storm system or big storm chances popping through. But we're dry for Memorial Day. 70 in the morning, 80 by noon. We'll top out around 85 before we dip back into the upper 70s by about, let's say 7 o'clock in the evening. Then, as we look deeper into the forecast and get back into Doug's pattern, another active stretch of the pattern, we'll see better thunderstorm chances Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and trying to linger into next weekend. But temperature-wise, not too terrible. 88 for Sunday, 85 Monday, 84 Tuesday, and with the better rain chances, Chris, we'll have temperatures trying to knock highs back down into the 70s by that stretch.
That is still a much better looking forecast than what most of them have been here lately, and it's definitely feeling a little more like summertime, but here come those storm chances again. Yeah,
they're going to try to keep on coming, but hey, again, rarely that we can get through a Memorial Day without any big thunderstorm chances, so we'll take it.
Yeah, it's usually raining and storming. So, Nick, thank you so much. Still ahead, how Kyiv has responded after Russia has made progress in the war in Ukraine. Here's a look at our tower cam. It's a tower cam of towers. It's sponsored by R.E. Smith Construction. We show this to you quite often, and I wanted to just reiterate why we do that. You see, we have this huge project going on here at KOAM. It's called the KOAM More Power Project. If you'd like to learn more about what it is, I have great news for you. At KOAMnewsnow.com/power, you can find all of that information about the project. Well, Russian troops are making small territorial gains in eastern Ukraine as officials in Kyiv call for more international support. Fox News correspondent Trey Yanks has the latest from Kyiv.
Russian troops are making small territorial gains in eastern Ukraine as officials here in Kyiv call for more international support. New satellite images show Russian military activity near the cities of Liman and Popasna. Russian troops recently seized control of Liman, and these images show the destruction left in the wake of that advance, much of it due to artillery units that are shelling civilian areas. Liman is considered to be a key strategic city as Russian troops control more of the Donbas region. Ukrainians continue to evacuate from many hard-hit areas, but intense fighting makes those evacuations difficult. The United Nations says more than 4,000 civilians have been killed so far since the war began, and that number is ticking higher each day. With much of the international attention on other stories, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging the media to stay in Ukraine and continue reporting. In a video message to students at Stanford University, he had this to say about Ukrainian efforts to survive amid the invasion.
Ukraine is a country that has destroyed the myth of the extraordinary power of the Russian army, an army that could conquer anyone it wants in a few days. But Ukraine is a country where the Russian army continues to wage a war it doesn't want to end. Now Russia is trying to occupy the whole country.
Even this morning, air raid sirens were sounding across the capital city, a reminder that every city here remains in Russian sights. In Kyiv, Trey Yanks, Fox News.
Coming up, why car buyers are a little more hesitant to buy a car this Memorial Day weekend. The first days of summer and summer car wheeling and dealing may be more fireworks fizzle than pricing sizzle. Memorial Day weekend, one of the best car buying times of the year, has sellers and buyers going different directions on money because of inflation and supply chain issues. The average new car price, about $45,200. That's up 18% average profit for dealers. The average profit for dealers, rather, is over $5,000, while average dealer incentives are at an all-time low at $1,034, down from almost $3,000 a year ago. And 45% of buyers doing trade-ins end up getting used cars. A real estate expert says there's more need for new homes because of an inventory shortage and current high prices. Pamela Liebman of the Corcoran Group says the real estate industry is desperate for new houses to buy, and more homes are needed below $400,000. Census Bureau data shows new home sales plunging in April from March by more than 16%. And they're down about 27% from a year ago. Lehman says more inventory would take the pressure off the market, even for renters. And renters in major cities are facing sticker shock over high rent prices in popular markets. A major sports apparel retailer says it's done selling products in Russia. Nike says it will not renew franchise agreements in the Eastern European nation in light of Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The retail group, which operates stores throughout the country, says it continues to sell what remaining goods it has, but stores will then close shops existing under the Nike brand after those goods are exhausted. The move by Nike follows other major retail brands like Starbucks and McDonald's, who are also ceasing operations in Russia. Baby formula shortage has deepened nationally, while a key maker awaits a renewed startup production date. Retail data firm Data Assembly says that out-of-stock rates have risen to 70% for the week ending May 22nd. That's a significant jump from the previous week's out-of-stock rate of 45%. Abbott Nutrition, which faced a major recall earlier this year, says its Sturgis, Michigan formula plant should restart on June 4th, but store shelves may not see those products until mid-July. FDA still has not reached a conclusion on whether bacteria at the plant caused infant infections from the formula. Delta Airlines summer plans may mess up your summer plans. Delta says it's going to make strategic cuts to some flights. Those flights come in peak summer season. The airline will trim 100 flights out of its schedule from July 1st through August 7th. The Atlanta-based carrier says it's anticipating problems with factors such as weather, air traffic control, vendor staffing, and increased COVID cases that cause unscheduled absences. Changes come as summer demand increases despite inflation prices. TSA says 2.1 travelers will pass through checkpoints daily. I apologize. Sometimes these scripts we get aren't entirely full. So it's probably 2.1 million travelers, not just 2.1 travelers. And on that, thousands of flights were delayed across the United States Saturday evening, and Delta is the airline, as we mentioned, that's being the most affected. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy takes a look.
A frustrating start to Memorial Day weekend. According to FlightAware, over 2,900 flights were delayed in the United States as of early evening Saturday. 482 of them canceled. Delta, the most affected airline, with 9% of its flights canceled, 10% of them delayed. We're also seeing a lot of delays at United and JetBlue Airlines, with 12 and 33% of their respective flights impacted. Here are the airports most affected. Take a look. LaGuardia and JFK in New York, Newark Airport in New Jersey. Both Reagan National in Arlington and Orlando International are seeing over 42% of its flights delayed. And this comes after a rough start to the holiday weekend yesterday. More than 7,000 flights were delayed Friday, over 1,200 flights canceled, Delta again being the most impacted. The airline blames it on bad weather and air traffic control issues, but clearly airlines are having a hard time meeting holiday demand as more and more Americans travel. United Airlines tells Fox News, quote, United is seeing an unprecedented demand for leisure travel and a rapid acceleration in demand for business and long-haul international travel, making this the busiest summer since the pandemic. United is flying double the amount of people as last year. Listen to this.
I wish it was a lot cheaper. I mean, I would like to be able to travel a lot more. Now that I got a good job, I want to be able to travel and go do things and see people. So wish it was lower. Hopefully it'll get back there.
I think it's summertime. Everyone likes to get out, and we've spent 2 years stuck at home.
AAA says 39 million Americans are projected to travel this Memorial Day weekend, which is more than last year, but still about 4 million less than we saw pre-pandemic back in 2019. Reporting in New York, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Hold on to your buns, because today is a very juicy holiday. We'll have the details after the break. Well, today is a day that I can get behind. It's National Hamburger Day. It is the day to honor the celebrated summer food staple. You put it on a bun and devour America's favorite sandwich, even if it's veggie style now. And where to wheel a deal for free? Guess what? You got another half hour or so. Using the Wendy's app, buy something, get a free junior bacon cheeseburger. Next Level Burger, buy one, get one free. You can get a free burger when you use the Mooya app if you spend $15. And Friendly's, a free sundae instead when you buy a burger. So what better to pair up with your burger than a free sundae? Beautiful day. A settlement has been reached after the Florida condo collapse. We've got more next. And honoring the sacrifice of many fallen American heroes. Welcome back. Attorneys for the families who lost loved ones in the collapse of a Florida condominium tower last year have reached a $1 billion settlement. A Florida judge has given the initial approval to the settlement. The speedy resolution Saturday will mean that relatives of victims will be avoiding the potential years-long court battles involving the case. The collapse of the 12-story Champlain Towers South building killed 98 people last June. Under the agreement, the money will come from several sources, including insurance companies, engineering companies, and the luxury condominium that was recently built next door. None of the parties are admitting wrongdoing. An autopsy for a young boy found dead in a suitcase in the woods in southern Indiana shows he died from an electrolyte imbalance. Indiana State Police say it's most likely the child died of enteritis, vomiting, and diarrhea that led to dehydration. Police say a mushroom hunter found the child's body in a heavily wooded part of Washington County on April 16th. Investigators believe the child was 5 years old. They say they don't know where he died. They described the boy as clean and clothed and said he appears to have been well cared for. Child's remains were left in a suitcase that had distinctive Las Vegas designs on its front and back. On Saturday, Prince William, who's also known as the Duke of Cambridge, oversaw final preparations for next week's Trooping the Colors ceremony. While on horseback, William supervised the 90-minute rehearsal for the annual military event, which will be held next Thursday, kicking off the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. Color of the Irish Guards will be trooped at this year's event. William, as colonel of the regiment, led the full dress rehearsal at Horse Guards Parade, the ceremonial parade ground in St. James Park. Queen Elizabeth, who is 96, has mobility issues and now uses a walking stick. It is believed the monarch may view the ceremony from a raised platform. However, Buckingham Palace has said her presence at the Jubilee events may not be confirmed until a later date. A car crashes through the front of a beauty store, hitting 2 people. Surveillance footage from inside a Tempe, Arizona store shows the moments a car came crashing through the front window, hitting 2 people and leaving tons of damage. Driver was reportedly parking when they accidentally left the vehicle in drive and then hit the accelerator instead of the brakes. 2 men seen getting hit by a display are said to be largely unharmed. Tempe police say the driver of the vehicle was arrested for an outstanding warrant unrelated to the crash. The roar of thousands of motorcycles is returning to our nation's capital over the Memorial Day weekend for a series of events honoring the nation's prisoners of war and missing in action. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson takes a look.
This Memorial Day weekend, we honor the more than 1 million Americans killed fighting this country's wars. Here in Washington, the annual Rolling to Remember, formerly Rolling Thunder, returned to help Americans remember that sacrifice. Events kicked off Friday at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and at the National Cathedral. John Stewart, a longtime advocate of veterans' causes, spoke to the sparse crowd.
We come out here today looking for the support of the American people, and what do we have behind me? It's veterans organizations. It's veterans. It's their families. This country can't be this broken.
A top executive for the group American Veterans asked all Americans to remember those who lost a loved one in defense of this country.
The Gold Star families is who we need to remember today. Those families that lost their loved ones, their sons, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters, their grandparents. Those are the ones we need to remember today. They're not with us today. They're not with their families today. And those are the ones that are struggling for this day.
About 7,000 U.S. troops have been killed in the war on terrorism, double the number of Americans killed on 9/11. Jeremy Butler, the head of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, spoke about the 22 veterans a day lost to suicide and what has made it worse.
COVID's lockdown did not help. It definitely made things worse. It increased isolation, and we know that isolation is one of the biggest problems.
Rolling to Remember will ride through the nation's capital Sunday. They want you to remember the sacrifice of so many. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Well, we saw a beautiful start to the Memorial Day weekend. Is it going to stick around? Well, you need to stick around because Nick Kelly's forecast is up next.
We had a pretty dry day overall, but for some, we actually had to start the day with a couple of scattered showers, even a couple of thunderstorms, and that came about because of that weak wave upstairs that came on through this morning. You can see how it brought the cloud cover from out west, that's for sure, but it brought a couple of showers or storms out of southwestern Kansas, tracked across the Sunflower State, and passed through parts of our area as we got deeper into this evening, or make that this morning rather. Here's a close-up view of that little batch of rain and storms, but you can see how as it worked deeper into the area it fell apart. So not a lot of action with that. Anything amounted to really 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain for anybody that saw that batch of rain this morning. Didn't stop temperatures from warming up though. After we hit the upper 70s yesterday, we dropped back near 60 this morning and into the lower 80s for this afternoon. And with a change in our setup again underway going into the overnight as well, we're not going to get as chilly as we were this morning. I'm thinking upper 60s this time around because even though we're mostly clear to start the late night hours out, we got more clouds building out to the west, with an advancing warm front coming in from the west as well. That's also been helping to fire off some thunderstorms across northwestern Texas and additional strong to severe storms across parts of the northern plains. But as it comes through here, its main job will be to keep us warm for sure as we go into tomorrow, as well as the jet stream. We're going to be on the warm side of it again tomorrow with another quick upper level wave coming out of Colorado. What is that going to mean for all of us moving forward? Well, let's break it down with the future track forecast. You can see how, again, we start the overnight dry, mostly clear, but then as the warm front comes on in, we'll see partly cloudy skies work back in as well. That and the stronger south breeze will only limit lows into the upper 60s. But as that warm front comes on in, it's got just enough upper level lift, maybe a little extra moisture to try and squeeze out a random shower or a random storm or two, mainly in our western counties on the Kansas and Oklahoma side. But like today, those are very slight rain chances, and they're only for the morning hours to start the day out. The rest of the day is looking fine with partly to mostly sunny skies, and it's going to be warm for sure with that good south wind at 15 to 25 during the day. 69 in the morning, 82 by noon. Highs around 88 and dropping, but everybody will go into the middle to upper 80s. Dry as we go into Sunday night and Monday morning. Memorial Day is looking good overall. Normally we can't get through this holiday weekend without a big day of thunderstorm chances. Usually that can fall on the holiday itself, but we'll be dry for it this time around. 70 in the morning, 80 by noon. We'll push afternoon highs to about 85 before we start dipping back into the upper 70s by Monday evening. Then, once we get past this quiet holiday weekend, here comes our next storm system with a better shot for storms on Tuesday. Depending on how this lines up, this could be some strong, possibly severe storms we'll have to contend with. And then the rain chances want to try to hold on Wednesday, Thursday, and another quick wave that could try to keep some of these scattered storm chances around by next weekend. So at least Mother Nature's being nice to us, keeping us dry for the rest of the holiday weekend with 88 tomorrow and 85 for Monday. But then, right on cue, the rain chances will ramp back up. And as it does, we'll go from 84 on Tuesday to highs in the 70s Wednesday through Friday, Chris.
It's a rare opportunity to be able to say it's a nice holiday weekend, but we got to watch the week ahead. Like you said, usually it's the other way around, but
yeah. But no complaints here. Like a quiet holiday weekend, we'll take it for sure.
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you so much. Coming up in sports, we caught up with Pittsburgh baseball's new head coach. Plus, Carl Junction aims to earn a spot in the Final Four. Danny Terzer has that and more next.
Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern are in Annandale, Michigan for the NCAA Division II Outdoor Track and Field Championships. Today is the final day of competition. The Pitt State men are 2022 national champions. It's the program's second national title and first in indoor. Individually, Lewis Rollins captures the national championship in the 110-meter hurdles with a time of 13.65 seconds. Braylon Brewer also claims an individual title in the 400 meters, setting a new school record time of 45.77 seconds. The PSU women come in 9th, their 4th top 10 national finish in the last 6 seasons. The Missouri Southern men place 6th, tied for a program best. The women finished tied for 22nd. The Lions pick up 10 All-American performances. The Webb City Cardinals are finally back in action today in the opening round of the Class 5 state tournament. The last time the Cardinals played was over a week ago when they won the district championship against Carl Junction. Webb City faces Platte County in the quarterfinal round. The Cardinals trail by as much as 10 runs in the game. They make it close though in the end, but ultimately Webb City sees their season come to an end today, falling 11-7. Pittsburgh High School announces their next head baseball coach. Eric Miller is the new leader of the program. He takes over for Keith Matlock, who stepped down at the conclusion of this past season after 10 years coaching the Purple Dragons. Miller returns to his alma mater. He went to Pittsburgh High School, then played 4 years at Pittsburgh State, and he had a stint as assistant coach for the Gorillas as well.
We just finished up a very successful season. I wish the next season started tomorrow. I know a lot of our kids. I've seen a lot of our kids grow up here. Play through the JL Hutch League, play through their travel teams. So excited to get out there and see what we can be as a team.
Carl Junction girls soccer returns to the state tournament for the first time since 2019. The Bulldogs get a home game in the quarterfinal round. CJ hosting Glendale this afternoon, looking for a spot in the Final Four. Bulldogs trailing by 1. Cadence Arnold has a chance to tie it up here. Taylor Thompson, though, makes the nice save for Glendale. Other way now, traffic in the box. Falcons off the volley. 2-0 at half. Glendale keeps the pressure on. Riley Heeman, with her left, finds the empty net. And then from the other side, she does it again. Second goal of the day to put the game away. Carl Junction's season comes to an end. The Bulldogs fall 4-0.
Going in the first 10-15 minutes, I thought we played even. We were kind of back and forth, kind of both jabbing at each other. And then once we gave that goal, we kind of lost a little confidence with that. And then late in the first half, under a minute or something like that, they scored the second goal with the ball done, and we just couldn't get cleared out of our box. So 2 mistakes here we're down 2-0 halftime. So we had a big hill to climb for the second half.
That's it for sports. We're back right after this with the Car Report.
Honda has a new sporty look that's ready to take on any adventure. Fox's Gary Gastelum takes a look at the 2022 Honda Passport.
The 2022 Honda Passport comes with a ticket to even more adventure than before. At least it looks like it does. The Passport has been redesigned to look less like the larger Honda Pilot it shares a platform with, and more like the Honda Ridgeline pickup that it also shares a platform with, to better reflect its light off-roading capability. It's also the first Honda to feature the new Trail Sport trim that aims to bring more rugged looks and features to the lineup. Except for now, it's mostly cosmetic, aside from the all-terrain tires, a slightly wider track, standard all-wheel drive, and these roof racks. But the skid plates are just for looks, and other than that, it's mostly orange Trail Sport badging. It does give the Passport a new feel though, and this is pretty good on a dirt road. Passport prices start at $40,000 for an entry-level front-wheel drive model and $44,265 for the Trail Sport, which has a maximum towing capacity of 5,000 pounds. All Passports come powered by Honda's familiar 280 horsepower V6 and standard leather trim, wireless charging pads, and wireless smartphone integration. On pavement, this has excellent ride and handling manners for something that looks like a land blimp, plus a full suite of electronic drive aids, including lane centering, adaptive cruise control. But it's even more impressive on gravel roads that it soaks up better than some very serious off-road SUVs. I'm cruising along at 40 miles an hour right now, and I've been less comfortable on some city streets in other vehicles. Of course, we all know how great America's city streets are. The Trail Sport isn't a rock crawler, but it should get you to trail heads with no trouble. It has a traction management system with settings for snow, mud, and sand. The Trail Sport is pretty big for a two-row SUV, however, which is great for passengers and cargo, but it can be a bit much on a tight trail. In fact, it's so wide that Honda made sure that it came standard with folding mirrors. It'd be interesting to see how much sportier the Trail Sports get in the future, but for now, this one wears the name pretty well. In the 2022 Honda Passport, Gary Gastelum, Fox News.
An old man is celebrating his birthday, and it's not me. We have his secret to living a long life to wrap up the show. Happy birthday to the world's oldest man. A celebration being held in Venezuela for Juan Vicente Perez Mora, who just turned 113 years old 10 days earlier. Mora was treated to some cake and even a parade through the streets of his village thrown in his honor. Mora, now listen to this, he's got 11 children, 41 grandchildren, and 30 great and great-great-grandchildren combined. Now, as for what his secret to a long life is, he said, quote, to work hard, rest on vacations, and go to bed early. So we certainly work hard to bring you this newscast a little bit earlier so you can go to bed early. And then, of course, if you're on vacation, you got to make sure you enjoy that. Don't just sit there and stress about it. That way you can live to be 113 or older. I don't know if I'm going to make it that long, but I'm certainly going to try. And I hope that you try as well by doing all of those things that Mora suggested. And that is our time for now. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back here tomorrow night at 9. Until then, thank you so much for making us part of your night.